Today's model is called the Time Management Matrix, and this was created originally by two Americans, Roger Merrill and Stephen Covey, and was first published in their book First Things First. This is a model that's really useful for helping people to develop their self-organization, time management and personal productivity. Now, the model itself consists of a distinction between two things: importance and urgency. Now, important tasks are things that are significant, that matter a great deal. Urgent tasks are things that demand your immediate attention. So importance and urgency are not the same thing. Something can be important without being urgent, and something can be urgent without being important. So what the model does is it combines those two concepts in a 4-quadrant format. So the first quadrant are those activities that are important and urgent. So those tend to be pressing activities, deadline-driven projects, major assignments. And because these things are both important and urgent, they tend to be the areas where most crisis management and firefighting takes place. Quadrant 2 are activities that are important but not urgent. So these are things like improving the quality of our products and services, developing new opportunities or networking, eliminating waste, prevention activities, self-development or team development. Quadrant 3 are things that are not important but urgent. So these are activities that are often very unproductive. Some meetings, for example, particularly if they're not well run, can be very unproductive. Some reports, some phone calls can be extended and again, not very fruitful. Some email. Quadrant 4, these are activities that are not important and not urgent. So within this quadrant, we have things like time wasting, extended phone calls, unnecessary breaks, junk email. Now, what the researchers did was they went out into different organizations and they analyzed people's time utilization, and they cross-referenced it against this model. And what they discovered was that about 60% of people's time was spent in quadrant 1 on the major activities and deadline-driven assignments. About 25%, about a quarter, was spent in quadrant 3 on activities that were not important but urgent, so unproductive meetings and phone calls. Around 10% on quadrant 4 on activities that were time-wasting or unnecessary. But the thing that blew the researchers away was quadrant 2, because when they analysed the data, what they discovered was that most people spent less than 10% of their time on quadrant 2 activities. Low single figures averaging around 5%. Now, why is that significant? It's significant because quadrant 2 is the key to personal effectiveness. Quadrant 2 contains everything within it that will enhance your leadership and management and personal effectiveness. So what the authors discovered was that actually the key here is to drive out and reduce the amount of time wasted on quadrant 3 activities and redeploy that time in quadrant 2 activities in the knowledge that it will alleviate the pressure on quadrant 1 and allow you to be much more productive and actually get a handle on things. Stephen Covey summed this up brilliantly when he said, most people are so busy fighting the alligators in quadrant 1 with the crisis management and the firefighting that they don't have time to drain the swamp. They don't have time to work on the long-range improvement activities. Now, if we can get people to work and focus on those activities by taking the time from quadrant 3, we can then deliver major dividends in quadrant 1. So what we do to help people with their personal effectiveness and planning and self-organization is to work on a quadrant 2 schedule where each week they focus on making sure that the quadrant 2 activities go into the schedule and are treated as sacrosanct and are treated as a priority.